A local nonprofit is helping drive a tech boom here in the Bay Area. Our Micah Paluska sits down with the organization to learn more about these high-paying jobs. And a Tampa couple tells us they were stuck in limbo between their builder and the city, how we took action to get them answers. Hello, I'm Lauren St. Germain, and welcome to a special look at the price of paradise here on ABC Action News Plus. Over the next half hour, we'll look at one way a county is looking to repurpose county-owned properties to close the gap on food insecurity. We'll also take an in-depth look at how counties and organizations are working to combat homelessness in the area. But first, Tampa is becoming a hotspot for tech startups, and a local nonprofit is leading the charge to bring them here. ABC Action News reporter Micah Paluska explains why a direct connection to Israel is bringing high-paying jobs to Florida.
The goal of the Florida-Israel Business Accelerator, which is a nonprofit located here in Tampa, is to identify some problems that we might have in our society and then go specifically to Israel, where there are all of these tech startups, and then see if they have a solution to that problem they can bring here. And leaders tell me it is great for our economy.
6 years ago, we had to convince companies to come here. You know, they would say, Tampa, what's Tampa? They'd heard of Florida, but they'd heard of only Miami. And so now we don't have to convince companies to come to Tampa anymore.
Pam Miniotti is the co-executive director for FIBA. She says Tampa's climate, along with beaches, a friendly business environment, world-class airport, and proximity to global markets in Latin America make it one of the best places to bring in new companies. What's the benefit to bringing them here?
The benefit to bringing them here is we help Florida. We help the economy. They hire people here. They grow jobs here. They move their families here. We have worked with over 78 companies since our beginning and 6 years ago. And those companies have raised a total of $920 million so far.
I would say naturally, Tampa would not be on our list.
Tomer Schatzberger is the founder and CEO of UC Care, a medical device tech startup that uses 3D modeling for early detection of prostate cancer. He tells me FIBA convinced him to move his entire family here.
FIBA introduced us to some of the leadership here, both in terms of investment and clinical and in our area, and we met some urologists, we met radiologists, we met investors, and we saw the potential here.
I can't think of a better place for your company to be because of our hurricane season.
We have this big trailer, has a generator on it. It has one of our second largest machine. Basically, you can pull it around to any emergency site in the event of a hurricane or flooding or tornadoes, whatever it may be.
Jake Newman is an engineer with WaterGen, another Israeli-based company setting up shop in Tampa. During a disaster, he tells me their machines can pull water out of air.
Biggest unit, we can do 1,600 gallons a day. Long-term plan is to have a beautiful showroom down in Tampa, thanks to the connections we've made, as well as a big warehouse to store our machines.
Miniotti tells me there's a lot of opportunities here. They just need local companies to come forward.
Finding Israeli companies is actually not our problem. As you said, you know, we have plenty. We hear from companies all the time who want to come here. But we really want to be able to offer them something that's going to be valuable and that's going to work for them.
In Tampa with photojournalist Reed Moeller, Michael Paluska, ABC Action News.
City leaders are looking at ways to increase affordable food options. The Tampa City Council discussed areas within the city that don't have easy access to grocery stores or supermarkets. ABC Action News reporter Julie Salamone breaks down the possible solutions.
We have this insanely tall sunflower that hasn't even produced sunflowers yet.
So Harvest Hope Park sits on several acres of land in the heart of the university area of Tampa. The park's community garden offers fresh fruits and vegetables for people living nearby since there is a lack of grocery stores or supermarkets. Dr. Sarah Combs is the CEO and executive director of the University Area Community Development Corporation, which operates the garden.
The university area community is a food desert and a food swamp, and so having access to fresh and healthy produce is a challenge for this community. And what better way to create a community garden as a way to bring residents together, the community together.
This week at a Tampa City Council meeting, Council discussed working with Hillsborough County and other partners to identify food deserts within city limits, meaning areas of the city where people do not have easy access to grocery stores with fresh food.
It's a big city, and people shouldn't have to take 2 buses to get to another part of town to get access to just basic necessities. I mean, it's just wrong.
Council discussed identifying city and county-owned properties which could be used as urban farms or gardens.
They're in the middle of neighborhoods. People can walk to these places. They don't need a car. They don't need to take a bus. They can walk there and get what they need.
Council agreed to look into solutions so everyone has access to healthy food options.
I think the more community gardens we can have in this community and beyond is absolutely a beautiful thing.
In Tampa, Julie Salmon, ABC Action News.
New construction homes are hard to find within the city of Tampa, where available lots for building are limited. And there can be issues with lots that are actually available. Our I-Team investigator Adam Walser learns about one couple's new home nightmare in which buyers were caught in an impasse between the city and the builder.
Still no house.
No.
Devin and Jenna Pasco have been waiting 3 years to move into their new home. They signed papers to buy it in February 2020. Before they were even engaged.
This house is here, this house is livable, and we can't live there.
To have our life be put on hold essentially for 3 years and then almost be there and have that hope taken away from us is just very frustrating.
6 new houses on South Sherrill Street, all with committed buyers, sit empty amid years of wrangling between the builder, Miranda Homes, and the city of Tampa. According to the U.S. Census Survey of Construction, the average time to build a new home in the South was 5.9 months in 2020. The first permits for this Miranda project were issued 34 months ago. The couple says they've been told that the city is holding up the issuance of the certificate of occupancy because of a drainage issue, which doesn't even involve their yard, but a home site half a block away. Emails dating from 2020 show concerns about potential flooding then. The Tampa Stormwater Department characterized the lots as flood-prone. An email from a city engineer to the builder said the lots need to drain to the street with no, in capital letters, impact to the existing neighbors to the rear. Unaware of the drainage issue, Jenna expected to move into her new home within months and sold the townhouse she was living in at a loss. But it took another year for the builder to get plans approved and install infrastructure.
They had to dig up, they had to put in the big pipes, make sure the water was flowing correctly.
The couple rented an apartment for 1 year, then 2.
So that was equity that we could have been putting into this home that we essentially gave to somebody else.
Eventually, Jenna and Devin moved in with Jenna's parents.
Luckily, we were able to stay at my in-laws, which is down in Parrish, but that's still 50 minutes from here.
You're a newlywed, right?
Yes.
What kind of toll is this taking on your marriage?
It's taking a toll on us and our relationship because we're constantly in a bad mood, we're frustrated, we're at each other's throats.
The home began to take shape in 2022. Devin made regular trips to see the progress, never once seeing standing water. In the meantime, mortgage interest rates skyrocketed.
We've over doubled our rate, which is hundreds of dollars a month that we're now going to have to pay.
And when it looked like everything was finished,
I said, what is the projection of the completion date so we can be prepared? And we don't have any date for you. We have nothing to tell you.
Emails show the builder and city squabbled for weeks. The builder submitted multiple new documents at the city's request. The city's engineer expressed concerns about the neighbors, calling us in a few months saying there is standing water in their yard. And the builder's engineer asked, how are we supposed to certify lots that we did not design? We contacted the city on April 15th asking about the months-long delays. A spokesperson told us in an email, the builder Miranda has added sod and landscaping to the easement, and the city is simply asking them to clear it. By April 18th, the city notified Miranda Homes that the issue had been resolved and removed the hold. What would you tell someone about building a new house in the city of Tampa?
Make sure you have 3+ years to wait for it.
I'm I-Team investigator Adam Walser with photojournalist Randy Wright, taking action for you.
The price of paradise continues to rise. Coming up after the break, we'll take an in-depth look at how counties and organizations are working to combat homelessness across Tampa Bay. Pasco County leaders are working to address the growing population of people experiencing homelessness. Right now, they're working on plans to get more temporary shelter into the community. ABC Action News reporter Jada Williams is going in depth on this by looking at the journey ahead to make sure the need for more housing is met. As we've mentioned before, rising rent continues to be a growing problem across the Tampa Bay area. And now Pinellas County community leaders are coming together to really brainstorm some solutions. In 2022, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment in the Pinellas region was more than $1,300, up 26% from 2021. During an affordable housing summit, St. Pete Mayor Ken Welch says this rise in rent is not limited to Tampa Bay. He goes on to add it is the #1 issue other cities are facing as they look to amp up the need for an aggressive approach to affordable housing.
At the lower end, you're talking about entry-level firefighters and police officers, nurses. Those are the folks we're talking about when we talk about affordable or workforce housing. Workforce kind of goes up to the average salary up to 20% above that, so 120% AMI. But it's the folks that make our communities work.
The county says it's trying to address the crisis by eliminating parking requirements, increasing density for affordable housing, allowing multiple living spaces on a single lot, and waiving fees for affordable housing developments. As of this spring, the county says there were nearly 1,100 new affordable housing units county-wide for people at all income levels. And the price to live in paradise continues to cause pain for some homeowners affected by Hurricane Ian over 6 months ago. We've reported new information about United Property and Casualty Insurance, or UPC, which is based out of St. Pete. They entered liquidation at the end of February. They are now the 10th insurance company to go insolvent. This means they don't have enough funding to cover current policies and claims. And following this news, UPC customers and agents began reaching out to our in-depth reporter, Stassi Olmos. They were worried about their open damage claims from Hurricane Ian. And now, as so many homeowners sit under tarped roofs and water-damaged walls, Stassi is taking action to find out how these hurricane victims can get help.
They detected mold, and the crack was on this outer wall. And if you look up at the ceiling, you can see the crack, how it all cracked.
Melanie Packard has owned what she calls her paradise in Northport for 30 years, paying UPC thousands of dollars for property insurance for a decade.
I think I've given myself an ulcer over the stress of, this is my home. This is what I have besides these two amazing kids. This is all I got.
Hurricane Ian cracked an entire wall and ceiling of a room, damaged her pool and roof.
The pressure beat it up.
It loosened her doors and flooded the foundation of her driveway. She later found water spots and several species of mold. Damage discovered after hiring her own public adjuster.
The public adjuster found water spots on my brand newly painted ceilings because the roof wasn't tarped until the public adjuster came in.
According to the claim documents, an adjuster with UPC came out within 2 weeks of Hurricane Ian.
We didn't even know what was damaged to the full extent at that point.
After a $6,000 deductible, UPC sent her a check for $1,882, dated November 12th.
I almost fell on the floor. I tried contacting them. No one returns phone call.
Packard says this email from UPC with her settlement documentation dated October 31st was her last correspondence with the company.
5 months, you heard nothing from UPC after that.
Nothing. I can't talk to anybody.
In February, the Insurance Information Institute told me they were fielding the same concerns about UPC.
They are dragging their feet on thousands of claims across the state. We're hearing similar stories from homeowners and insurance agents about no response from the company.
On February 15th, I emailed UPC executives asking about the claims concerns. I did not receive a response.
This is all I've received.
At the beginning of March, Packard received this letter from the state saying UPC will be liquidated and her policy would be canceled on March 29th.
UPC had nearly 140,000 policies in place when Hurricane Ian hit. About 90,000 of those have gone to Slide Insurance Company, but 50,000 are now going to the Florida Insurance Guarantee Association,
a nonprofit funded in part by liquidated assets and assessments on consumers' insurance bills.
We're going on the assumption that we're going to get 16,000 existing claims, and we're expecting 4,000 new claims or reopened claims.
This is one woman, and you were telling me that there are 20,000 people like her.
There's a lot of people impacted, especially in that area.
From the previous 9 insolvencies in Florida in the last 3 years, FIGA still has about 8,000 open claims. But the good news for UPC customers is that FIGA plans to start their claims process the first week of April.
That's huge compared to previous, insolvencies. You guys weren't able to move that quickly.
We were able to do some pre-planning and get ahead of some things. What makes this insolvency unique is that we use some of the same vendors UPC did as far as claim handling, and we think 8,000 of them will be able to stay with the same adjuster that was handling the claim.
It's encouraging news, but for homeowners like Packard, they're worried they won't be able to get new insurance until claims are closed.
We're in fire season. We had a fire 4 blocks that way, and literally I had pictures of these giant embers this big floating around our neighborhood on fire. I have a plastic covered roof.
I also checked with the state-backed Citizens Property Insurance to ask if they could help take on UPC customers with open claims. A spokesperson for the company said they're making the process easier, stating some required documents needed for new business submissions are being deferred for up to 60 days. And they understand it may take longer than that, so a signed contract by a building professional would suffice for coverage.
I live here, I work here. It's the safe place for my kids, and it doesn't feel very safe right now.
FIGA estimates closing UPC's books will cost around $500 million. They plan on continuing extra fees on Florida insurance policies to cover the costs. In Northport, I'm in-depth reporter Stassi Olmos, taking action for you.
Stassi explains insurance companies pay funds to the Florida Insurance Guarantee Association every year. When a company goes insolvent, FIGA will liquidate their assets to pay back premiums. But often they need to take out bonds and then assess insurance policies to pay back open claims. If you want to learn more about this, we have all the information and a full response with advice from Citizens Insurance on our website, abcactionnews.com. More on the rising price of rent in the Bay Area. Coming up after the break, we're taking a closer look at the price of paradise that is pushing some people out of their rental homes. 11 Florida cities made the top 25 list of places where people are moving to. Lakeland came in second in the nation for their growing population boom. Sarasota third, Tampa 15. And all of this extra demand is driving up rent. Our Vanessa Ariza has a breakdown on what the new numbers reveal and why Tampa Bay is going against the national trend.
I got there in 2009. I was paying $1,248 a month, and I left a year ago. I was there for 13 years. When I left, I was paying already $2,600, and I left because they wanted to raise my rent $800 more.
Last year when I signed, it was $400 less than when I just re-signed this September. So it's creeping up.
Everything is basically out of our price range because of how expensive rent prices are here, especially being a college student.
We took to Tampa's Riverwalk, and in a matter of 10 minutes found at least 3 people who are experiencing what so many here in the Bay Area are, raging rent hikes.
Right now you walk around and there's so many people without living out here because they can't afford rent, and they might make $2,000 a month and they still can't afford that.
Isabella Pavia is a student at the University of Tampa. She has heard of students who've had to leave the school entirely because they simply can't afford to live here.
One of my friends actually last year, because everything was just so expensive, she had to transfer.
According to Redfin, there's a glimmer of hope. A recent study found the median rent rate dropped to 0.4% in March. That is the lowest level in 13 months. But it doesn't mean much if you live in the Bay Area. That same report shows rent rates in Tampa rose close to 4%. Breaking down the numbers even more, according to GoBankingRates.com, renters need to make nearly $70,000 a year to afford a place here.
It's what we should realistically expect in real estate markets.
That's Shelton Weeks with Florida Gulf Coast University. He's an expert in real estate and financial markets. He reiterates the reason behind the high rents. Everyone wants to move here, and there just isn't enough inventory. So the question is, how do we solve this problem? Well, he says we have to think outside of ourselves and look at the bigger picture. That means adding more density, but simply rezoning land to allow multifamily dwellings.
While we may not want the extra traffic from an apartment complex next door, we still want to be able to walk into our favorite restaurant and then be fully staffed to be able to get a table and be served, or go to whatever retailer and have those folks fully staffed because their employees can find housing in our markets.
There's no short-term fix here, but Weeks explains if we think outside of ourselves, we could slowly chip away at these outrageous prices. At the end of the day, it's the price we're paying for paradise. But it doesn't have to stay this way. In Tampa, Vanessa Ariza, ABC Action News.
ABC Action News is committed to helping you and your family make the most of your money and navigate through the price of paradise. So be sure to check out our previous stories. We have them posted in a special section of our website, abcactionnews.com. You can also find them by scrolling down on the homepage of the streaming news channel you're watching right now. Thanks for watching this special presentation. I'm Lauren St. Germain.